What's up, Haven Knights, and welcome to another issue of the Pull List. I'm going to be honest with y'all, I had a really good week. I had a ton of good books come in. We are not going to mess around tonight. We are going to, or today, whenever you're watching this, we are going to jump right into it, right into the review. Hey, look, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. That really does help us out. If you've been hanging out with us for a while, thanks for sticking with us. We're only getting better. Josh is only getting better. I'm kind of getting better. Yeah, we'll let you decide. Leave a comment below. But like I said, the store folio is packed this week. I had a really good week. If we can pry all these books out of here, we'll just jump right into it. And I know that this first book off the top is going to be a massive shock to a lot of people. I know that y'all aren't going to believe that I actually read this or anything. But we have, surprise, surprise, AWA, The Ribbon Queen, issue number 2. So, everybody that's been watching for a while, y'all know that I really do enjoy my AWA books. I've definitely got a love affair going on with what that company has got going. I'm loving everything about it. For those of you that know me personally, you know that I do like horror, I like suspense. I've just always liked that genre, whether it's books, comics, movies. When I say books, I mean like actual novels. Y'all can't see the Clive Barker collection. But I want to take the horror aspect out of this particular book here for just a second. At the same time, yes, we do have a horror story going on, but Garth Ennis has actually given us a book where we also have a really good cop story going on. It kind of reminds me of, and some of you that may have seen it, there was a TV show called The Shield with Michael Chiklis. And it kind of reminds me of that. It's got the same vibe. We've got good cops, we got bad cops, we got cops caught in between. We have a murder, then we also have the body is missing, we've got a coroner. I mean, it's just a really good, solid police story that just has the element of the supernatural and horror to it. So in the first issue of The Ribbon Queen, what happens at the end of the issue to the bad cop, we'll just call him that, it's pretty gnarly. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was definitely a horror element to that. And it happens on the very last page, so it even leaves the reader in shock as, oh my God. Well, I like that it happened that way because that shock carries over into this issue, and your characters are feeling this. The characters that have seen the scene, they know what happened. They're feeling that shock that the reader had at the end of the first issue. Really good, solid story. Now, as far as the horror element is concerned, there was a couple of movies, might have been late 80s, early 90s. One was called Jacob's Ladder, and another was called Flatliners. I can't remember. Tim Robbins was in Jacob's Ladder, and I believe Kiefer Sutherland was in Flatliners. Late 80s, early 90s era. It kind of, with the Ribbon Queen, her name is Bella. Well, we think that she's the Ribbon Queen. She might be what the Ribbon Queen might be possessing her. We just don't know yet. But her character, when you see her with the hood up and everything, and just you would have to read it to really understand. Her character gives me those vibes like Jacob's Ladder and Flatliners. It was just a really good, solid book. If you're into horror, you definitely need to check this out. They're only on issue 2. This is a brand new series, so it's not like you got to go back a series or anything. This is just a really good, solid read. Thoroughly enjoying Ribbon Queen, but you also know how I feel about AWA. Next up on the list, we have Moon Knight, City of the Dead, issue number 2. This has been a fantastic story so far. There is, in this particular issue, Moon Knight and Scarlet Scarab, they're getting closer to trying to find who they think is, I believe it's Cahill, is the boy that Mark has crossed over to look for his soul. But they actually find out that there's something else going on in the background, and it's not just that one boy, it's children everywhere. And basically, the Cult of Jackals, Jackal Clan, Jackal whatever, I can't think of their name right now. they are using the children to actually weigh the hearts of bad people, so the bad people don't end up getting condemned. I know that kind of makes a little bit of weird sense for some people. If you're not reading it, it probably makes no sense, but it's a really good story. Mark has realized now that it's more about just saving the one boy. I think he's realizing that. But you do have a comment. There's some flashbacks between Layla and Mark when they were mercenaries. I think this happens before Marlena. But something happened in Damascus where Mark was like tortured for a week after the fact. And here comes a spoiler for you. She ends up running off and leaving him, and she tells him just like Damascus. I'm hoping that we get a backstory on what actually happened in Damascus. I really hope that they don't do it like in the MCU movies where they were, Budapest, Budapest, Budapest. Nobody knows what happens in Budapest. I would like to know what happens in Damascus. This issue kind of ends on a little bit of a somber note with Moon Knight captured. This is going to be a limited run. I think it's only going to be 6 issues. I'm not for sure. If you're watching this the day after Shop Talk, which obviously you are after watching it after this week's episode of Shop Talk, Josh and I will end up talking about this book, and I'll find out then. So if I'm telling you it's 6 issues and I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Next up, we have Dead Romans issue number 6. And I'm going to go ahead and rip this bad boy open right quick because I want to show y'all something. Once again, Kennedy has done an amazing job writing this story. This has just been a great story. If you read this story from a certain perspective, this is truly a good story about battle strategy. You just have to be reading it to understand. But y'all see that amazing cover by Mark? I can never say your name, and I'm so sorry. You've been on the show, and you're coming on the show again. Nick Markovich. That amazing cover. It's a double cover. Is that not absolutely beautiful? But in this particular issue, Arminius, this fella right here, he does end up finding the woman that he's in love with. And let me tell you what, if I attempt to pronounce her name, it's definitely not going to come off safe for work. So let's just say that woman. He does end up finding her, and she does feel betrayed and everything, but she has a mission that she has to fulfill. And he's like, look, I want you to be my queen. I want you to come back. Please, blah, 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 blah. And she's just not having any of it. This has been such a good, solid read. This would make... You cannot make a movie out of this because it's just too deep. As far as just too rich of a story, a movie would not do it justice. This would need to be like a Netflix series or AMC series. Absolutely phenomenal read. Beautiful art. I do know a little something about this series, but I don't know if I can say anything yet, so I'm not going to say anything just yet, but you definitely want to pick this series up. We will be covering this series again in the future on Shop Talk. And both the guys, Kennedy and Markovich, are coming back on Shop Talk. We're kind of working out when. If you want to see who actually writes Dead Romans, go back. I will try to find that actual episode of Shop Talk and leave the link in the description for y'all to check that out. Really good conversation, and you can kind of get a little bit into their mindset on how much research had to go into this story, art styles, things like that. Because this is actually based on a legitimate historical battle, and I believe that some people actually consider this the beginning of the fall of the Roman Empire. Just a beautifully written story, so well done. Definitely cannot say enough good things about Dead Romans. Now we go from something like that to Darkwing Duck, issue number 8. You've got to have the fun read. You've got to have the nostalgia read. I still stand by what I've been saying since issue number 1. Parents, if you got a small child that's wanting to check out comic books, you cannot go wrong with Darkwing Duck. Not only is it a good book for, the younger fans, younger kids and everything, it's also a really good book that you could read your kids at night. I know a couple of people that that have smaller children. The Bug is out of that phase. I'd love it if she would allow me to read to her just one more time, but it's just not going to happen because she's getting to that point where she's too cool for Dad. But Darkwing Duck, definitely recommend this book. In this particular issue, Darkwing has basically had to team up with, and I forgot his name, Blabbering Blatherskites. I forgot his name. They've had to team up. Y'all going to notice I'm bad about that sometimes. They are going after, they're trying to find Launchpad's compass. That compass is like near and dear to his heart. We do have a little resurgence of the Justice Ducks here and there. Neptunia is referenced a lot. It's just another good, fun book. And as you can see, I mean, we do have Justice Ducks on the cover, except for Gizmo Duck. Remembered his name. But he is heavily in this issue, and it's just another fun, lighthearted issue. And to be honest with you, I think that sometimes you need these fun, lighthearted issues to kind of break up everything else that you're reading. And it's typical Darkwing. You literally feel like you're reading an episode of the old cartoon. And I mean, I'm not a big person when it comes to nostalgia or, sentimental stuff, but this is definitely a nostalgic read, and it's definitely a fun read. Especially for people my age, I would say from your 40s to your early 50s, you would definitely enjoy this book. Next up, we have Night Terrors, issue number 4. We are winding Night Terrors down. Everyone's starting to wake up. Batman is now awake. Deadman's no longer possessing his body. We're getting more backstory on Insomnia. They do go to where they think, and I'm about to throw out some major spoilers, they do go to where they think Insomnia's body is. His body ends up being there. He is asleep. He's not dead. I think he's kind of like in a medically induced coma, and they're keeping him that way. Deadman's plan is they're going to wake up Insomnia, and they think that that'll stop the nightmares, and it doesn't. It actually brings the nightmares to the real world. So now, as everyone's starting to wake up, they're having to deal with that. I'm actually going to skip just a couple of books. This is so unprofessional. It's glorious. And we're going to cover the Nightmare books here right quick. We're going to go with Detective Comics Night Terrors issue number 2. And there's a reason why I'm literally covering all 3 of these books at the same time. This one's Night Terrors issue number 2, Titans. But honestly, Detective Comics Night Terrors has just fallen completely and totally flat. The first issue was kind of cool. The second issue and it even felt like an oversized issue. It just really seemed to drag. I mean, it's not one of those where it just wasn't doing it for me. If you enjoyed it, please, by all means, let me know below that you enjoyed it and what you enjoyed about it. I just was not feeling this particular issue. It really and truly revolves around Gordon and some other people. And I understand why they did Gordon in this. To me, it kind of makes sense. Detective Gordon, blah, 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 if you want to look at it that way. But I just wasn't feeling the Detective Comics Night Terrors. It's, like I said, beautiful art. But the story just kind of, I don't know, it almost seemed like the story was trying to get just a little bit too philosophical. And this is supposed to be a horror run. We don't need to go too philosophical on that. That's my personal opinion. Next up, Night Terrors Titans, issue number 2. We do find out who the girl is, and this was definitely, for those of you that watch Doctor Who, think the Doctor's Wife, that particular episode where the TARDIS ends up basically possessing a woman's body. And he actually gets to talk to the TARDIS. Well, in this particular issue, in the Nightmares, Titan's Tower does take on a persona, and her name is Joanna. She represents everything that is good and hopeful about what Titan's Tower can be, and she ends up helping the Titans. It was a really good... Oh, the Bug has a question. Yes, Bug.
Isn't Joanna the name of a Doctor Who character? Or am I just being weird?
There might have been a Joanna in Doctor Who somewhere at some point. I mean, it's been running for 50 years. And I've been watching, religiously. But here was my issue with this issue. And it's not a big one. I mean, it was a very well-written story. It's a very good story. We already know that people are waking up. We already know what's going to happen. If there was a reading order Maybe I just missed the reading order. But, last week we found out I believe, in Superman, what's going on, how people are waking up, why people are waking up, or 2 weeks ago. And then last week we get these where they're still asleep. It's almost like it just kind of came out of order. I'm not opposed to Night Terrors on any level. Like I said, some of the issues just didn't do it for me. Others I thought were just fantastic stories. I wish that this had been pushed back to October and given us like a Halloween thing. And I wish that I would have known, maybe this could be my fault. So if it's my fault, that's my fault. Call me out on it. But I wish that there would have been a better reading order or a better release order, almost in the way that you should have read them. Maybe one day I'll read all the Night Terrors and put it into some type of order. I don't know for sure, but go check out Mark at Legion of Comics. He's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure he's reading all the Night Terrors. He might be able to tell you more about it. Maybe if you pester him, he'll give you a video. I don't know, but like I said, Titans, it was a good, solid story, but it just kind of, the wind's kind of being taken out of my sails because of what happened in Superman a couple of weeks ago, and it's almost like, well, I feel like we already should be moving beyond that. But this was a very well done issue. The Titans, we do get some Nightmare Titans. Then we, like I said, we have Joanna. Raven talks to her, and even after they wake up, Raven, kind of sticks her hand on the floor, and she still talks to her a little bit. So, that was kind of cool that they gave Titans Tower its own personality. Next up, we have King Spawn, issue number 25. This particular issue, Spawn is facing off with Clown. And Clown literally wants Spawn's help so they can stop Cagliostro from taking the throne of hell. Because if Cog takes the throne of hell, he will become so powerful no one will ever defeat him. Spawn is basically arguing back and forth with Clown. He's like, oh, so you think I'm just supposed to let you take the throne of hell? And Clown is like, yeah, let me take it because I don't care about your pitiful little Earth. I have other enemies that I need to take care of. I have other people that I hate. It'll be decades before I get to you and Earth. Spawn is having nothing to do with that. He's ready to fight Clown right there. This is a different Clown. He's definitely more powerful, or a different Clown to me. Let me put it like that. He's definitely more powerful, a lot stronger. King Spawn, it was another solid read. I like what they're doing with the Spawn universe. It was just a fun book. It's a little dark. We do now have Terry and Cyan are going, if that's how you say her name, are going after some of the human counterparts that they can actually fight, and try to help Al. Al does kind of send everybody away, but it's another good read. I was impressed with it. I did like it. If you're reading we're at the point now, I don't know if there are trades for King Spawn or Gunslinger. I would say definitely pick up the trades. I don't know if these have gone up in value. I really don't. I don't keep up with prices a lot, especially on newer books. But these are definitely worth checking out if you're a Spawn fan or if you're wanting something a little different. Next up, we have the Fantastic Four 2023 annual. This is Contest of Chaos storyline. I'm not reading the Contest of Chaos storyline. This made no sense to me. I'm just being honest with y'all. So I'm going to look at it strictly from a standalone story aspect. Literally, Johnny and Ben are trying on shoes. Johnny goes to check on the old guy. All of a sudden, he's in hell. Or what he thinks is hell. And Johnny Storm. Johnny Blaze is sitting there waiting on him. They end up fighting. Johnny Storm doesn't know why. But it's all part of this contest of chaos that is going on. I'm not picking up all these annuals to get this story. As far as a standalone issue is concerned, it was a good issue. I was entertained. It was a very entertaining fight between Johnny Storm and Ghost Rider. I think one of my favorite parts of the entire book was Bad Kitty. If you're reading the book, you know what I'm talking about. Next up, though, at the end of the book, Johnny Storm does end up, I guess, advancing in the rounds. And he ends up I believe he's in the Sanctum Sanctorium, however you want to say it. with Klee, and they kind of have a little bit of exchange. He's moving on to the next round, I believe. But the truly good thing about this book is the thing that we really and truly need to focus in on, and the thing that we just need to accept: Johnny Storm's mustache survives hell. It was a fun read. It was a good read. Like I said, I'm not reading Contest of Chaos or that entire thing, so I really don't know what's going on. But I did enjoy it, and it does kind of fit in with a little bit of the stories, and it can be like a brief little interlude to what's going on in the Fantastic Four main title right now. Which, if you're not picking up, you're really and truly missing out on that. Next up, from Mad Cave Studios, we have Exorcist Never Die, issue number 5. If Mad Cave sticks with Exorcist Never Die, if they do with them what they've done with other comic books and other series, it's going to be 6 issues, then a break. I can see where we've actually, in this particular issue, our exorcists are still traveling down the Hellscraper and they face envy. This was a really good issue because our exorcists are kind of pitted against each other. And you understand why if you're reading it. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'd really like to get Mark London back on. So hoping to get him back on soon so we can talk about not only Exorcist Never Die, but Hunt, Kill, Repeat. But if it was me writing, issue 6 would be the cliffhanger, then we would pick back up with issue 7 the way Mad Cave does it. And for those of you that read Mad Cave or AWA, they do the same thing with the 5-6 issues break. This could actually go on for a little while. Next up on the list is they still have two of the 7 deadly sins that they have to face. One is wrath, and the other wrath, and another one. But this has been really solid. I've enjoyed this run all the way through. The big thing, though, is if you're reading it, you know that the Exorcists have a history together. You know that at one point they were a couple. She was a little more ambitious than him. He did not apply himself the way that I guess she thought that he should. But it's been a really good story, and if they don't end up back together at some point, I'm going to be mad, because you definitely want to see them get back together. It's just been a really good, and even though, yes, it is Exorcist Never Die, yes, they are dealing with 7 deadly sins, and demons, and, souls and everything else, to me, it really doesn't feel like a horror book, so to speak. It almost comes across as more fantasy-driven. They do call on, angels to use their powers and things. It's been a really good, solid read. I mean, I'm loving what's going on with Exorcist Never Die. And I do really and truly hope, Mark London, if you're watching this, we need more of these even after the next couple of issues. I think that this comic book does have a future. We've only got 2 books left, and we're coming down to the wire. Next up, we have The Rocketeer, Den of Thieves, issue number 2. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Even though our boy is fighting Nazis, it's just good, clean fun. It's almost has a wholesome feel to it. You definitely get the throwback to the era, the whole vibe and everything. In this particular issue, Secord has realized that the Nazis have kidnapped Peavy. He basically goes to the military for help. He needs somebody to fix the jetpack, even though he's kind of given up being the Rocketeer for Betty. But he's fixing to get ready to go get Peavy. And it's had some really good art. I like what they've done with the story. I think it's been a whole lot of fun. I mean, I'm definitely a Rocketeer fan now. I really don't know what else to say about it. If you're a fan of the Disney movie that came out, say around 93, 94-ish time frame, you'll definitely like the comic books. They're just been fun. I do highly recommend The Rocketeer. Next up, last and certainly not least, we have No One, issue number 5. I love seeing No One in action. That I don't know what it is. No One is just a great character. We do see him in action. You can actually tell. We'll see if you look closely. If you're not reading this, in his mask, those are the men that he's fighting. In this particular issue, basically, there's a lot of characters in this book. You know what? I'm not going to lie to y'all. I want to make sure that I get this right because I want to make sure that I do this one justice so I don't have to suffer the wrath of Tots on this one because he's loving No One also. All right. So, we do have... Where we at? Aaron Kern is in prison. He is supposedly the Richard Rowe killer. He has now recanted his statement admitting to the murders, and he's about to be let out because the entire case that was built against him was completely and totally... The entire case was built on his confession that he's now recanting. We have... No One is still going after people. He's still doing his thing. Everybody thinks that it's a copycat. This was another... This is... It's not dark or anything. Definitely for mature readers. It even says on the back of it for mature readers. But it's been really good. It's very, very intriguing. I'm trying to kind of find a good page to show y'all some of the art style. All right, so here we go. We basically, I mean, that's kind of that's the art that you're going to be looking at in this. Kyle Higgins is a mad freaking genius as far as I'm concerned. I love what he's done with No One. On top of that, you also have the accompanying podcast with Rachel Lee Cook and Patton Oswalt, which has been really good also. So you're getting a very well rounded out story. I'm sorry, I kind of got sidetracked. But since Aaron has recanted his confession, they're getting ready to let him out of prison or out of jail. And No One literally shows up and basically goes after the lawyer that's about to get Aaron off scot-free. Even though I personally don't think Aaron is the original Richard Rowe killer. I just don't think. We may get a curveball. I don't know. But No One tells him Aaron Kern has got to stay in prison no matter what. Why does No One tell him that? We don't know yet. We do know that No One has fought the Richard Rowe killer before. We find that out in the podcast. I think it's briefly mentioned in the book. You really need to listen to the podcast. Very well done production value. But not only that, Ben Kern, the father, is actually like, no, my son's got to stay in prison. We got to do this. So at the end of it, he's pretty much cleaning his piece, and maybe Dad's going on the hunt. We really don't know. I still think, and this is my own personal opinion, I still think that the younger brother, Michael Kern, is alive, and either he is the original Richard Rowe killer, or he is No One. Isn't that right, Miss Livy? Michael Kern is No One. Ain't that pretty kitty? But that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. Just brilliantly written series so far. It's been really good. I believe, and once again, I know I keep saying this out there, we've had Kyle Higgins on Shop Talk before. I can post another link if y'all want. I'll just go ahead and post that link also. But I believe he said this was going to be 10 issues. I would love to have more issues. I think that No One can be a mantle that's passed on. Image Comics, I mean, y'all need to keep that man working. Kyle Higgins, to me, I saw this on Twitter the other day. Someone that I follow posted it, and I responded. My modern day Mount Rushmore right now is literally Zdarsky, Higgins, Taylor, and who was the fourth? Who was the fourth, Bug?
I don't have Twitter.
You're supposed to know when I do this stuff. Awful secretary.
The dude
Good
from
child.
Mount
Awful secretary.
The dude
But
from Mount Cave.
But
dude right
Kyle
now.
Higgins, never let that man take a day off. Very well written, very smartly written. He's truly created a new, in my mind, a new universe is what he's done. Panosian, that was the other on my Mount Rushmore. But that was No One, issue number 5. It must be getting late because I'm getting sidetracked very, very, very easy tonight. On to the next piece of business. I don't have a throwback pick. I really don't. I sat down unprepared. I did. I sat down thoroughly unprepared. Let me see what I got back here, though. We can do this. I know we can, kids.
What about this?
That right here. No, I can't because that is a dead giveaway.
What about this? This isn't old though, is it?
No, that was actually last week's. And we did have a winner last week. And I will be getting his comic in the mail to him. I got something really cool picked out for him. Actually, no, I don't think we have done this one.
So smart.
It might have been a throwback pick from a while back, but you know what? We're going to go with it because the bug picked it up. All you have to do to find out what comic this is to watch Shop Talk from last night. Because I'll tell you what comic this is. After the premiere of this video, put in the issue that this comic is, and you'll win something. I don't know what you'll win. The way that I did it with our last winner was he commented and I was like, hey, great, you can actually sit on last week's comments. I believe I pinned the comment. All he had to do was DM me his address and 5 titles. He did it. He didn't do 5 titles. He actually did a character. That made it even better because I had something special for him. And he's going to get a free comic book out of it. You're not getting this comic book. This is one of my favorite comic books. And that might possibly give some of y'all a hint. But all you got to do is comment below and you will get a free comic book out of it. That's it for the pull list. Hey, look, we are going into the weekend. If you're watching this Friday morning at work, I love you. You're my type of people. Always goof off at work on Fridays. Except for me, I never goof off at work on Fridays. I work hard. Every day, all day. Never slack. Look, guys, y'all be safe this weekend. Have a good weekend. Spend a lot of time with family. Spend a lot of time aggravating family. Just have fun. Read a lot of comic books. Leave comments below. Tell your friends about us. We are a slow but steadily growing channel. And we love all the support that y'all have given us so far. It really does mean a lot to Josh, Tom, and myself. You can tune in on Sunday nights to Tom Price's Lines on the Page. Lines on a Page. It's an art show. Think Bob Ross with superheroes. What's not to love about that? That's on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Central. On Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Central, you've got Shop Talk with Josh and Alan. And then, like this video right here, it's Friday. It'll be released about 11:15. It's the pull list. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.